So, in the word God, I think we should start with the word God, and know that that is a trap. It's a trickery word, right? And it has its own influences. I mean, we can come up with gold, oil, and diamonds. That's one of the ideas of what God means. And when you really think about it, gold, oil, and diamonds, these are things that we worship and we idolize. So that kind of works for that. Also, we know that the Caesarean line, I think of the Pisos or pre-Pisos, I can't remember which one of the Caesars, came up with the name or the acronym God for grantors of dominion. And under that ideology that they have, it's that, and as you know, the Vatican and the Catholic faith is in worship to the Caesars, the Caesarean line. So they decided that they were the ones who granted our dominion. And in reference to what they perceive as is that they grant us life and they give us death. It is the one true God that grants us existence. And when you take all that away, then there has to be this acknowledgement that they, the Caesarean line, recognizes that there is a higher order, a higher divinity, if you will, or like I like to use the word univinity. So something higher than them. And at the same time, we know who they worship. So we have to understand that really, right? Like they don't worship the benevolent one. They worship what we call, or they've named Satana El, Lucifer, Baphomet, Moloch, etc. They also worship materialism, ultimately, and they worship this plane of existence because they're doing everything in their power to lay claim to the whole thing, the whole enchilada, and have been for quite an extended period of time. So they worship the earth herself. And for those people that were on the pod yesterday, you might remember that I talked about actually what the earth is, even when you're taking away the whole idea of, say, the simulation and the holograms and the machines, and you remove all that just for a moment, because we'll get into talking about that too, is that it's the seas. The earth is the seas, SEAS, right? That's what they called us, the seas. And when we're born into it, we're born into a death block, a grid, a birthing dock, a wharf, if you will. And so when they take the placenta, we're cast out into the seas as a dead entity inside of dead law system, inside of dead men system, where we are just a commodity. We're just to be traded. We're just to be used for taxation. We're just to be used for labor. We're just to be used for food and harvesting, on one level or another. So essentially, because of that, when we look at that whole idea of their thinking around us, and what we are born for, then that would pretend that they are the gods and we are not, right? So it's going based on that thinking. So we can take that lack of illumination that they so love and allow them to place us in this chattel. But this chattel, type of structure that's held together inside the system of all these different systems and agendas and corporations and all sorts of things that are navigating and pushing us, through these waters, inside the sea of what I consider an illusion. However, it feels and we are experiencing as real. And so we can look at it that way, that these beings, the rulership, which would be the puppet line, the blue-blooded line, uh, all the way into the shadowlands of what's behind the scenes and what's happening behind, and these interdimensional beings and Elohim and all of this, is the God or the gods that are ruling here. But that still is on the playing field, the same level of materialism, because they've been made manifest in flesh. Correct? So that's what I'm talking about, right? And then we have the whole other idea that we are from some very high benevolent being who is male and who lives inside the clouds and is behind the pearly gates and he sits there on his throne with his white beard, and he's always white. There's only one color ever in terms of all these stories, and he grants us when we die. He grants us our life review, and he grants whether we go to heaven or hell. And again, this is it's storylines. It's these fairy tales that were made up to put fear in us and hold us inside the system. And as we talked about yesterday, how we're living inside of a contained system. So I have a lot. I have some notes that I kind of just threw down here because it was a couple weeks ago, and I just was like, well, what was I going to talk about? I was geared up then, but you know, so I started to think about it, and I started to think about, okay, so here we have this over here. This is through all religion. We talk about what that religion is, and each of